All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Baseball Scoops. We are diving into the team previews, and we are staying in the NL Central, and we are talking Reds, the Red Hot Reds, and I have the fellas from the Red Hot Reds podcast. I got Ricky Logan, I got Roger Straz. How are you boys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing great. I was in Arizona last week, and we talked about a little bit before the show. So come back to rainy Ohio. It was great.
I'm really hoping it doesn't rain for opening day. That just hold off for just the one day. We're so close. Before we actually get into the actual team preview and talk about 2025, talk to me about what you guys got going on. Obviously, I'm a fan of what you guys do. I think you guys work really hard. I love your show. But you guys got minor league stuff coming up. Like, dive into that, please, because I feel like that's not an untapped thing, but you don't see a lot of markets doing solely just minor league type stuff. So what do you guys got cooking up for 2026?
Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, we got minor league Monday.
Okay.
We really, our original show was we would do Wednesday would be like a midweek recap or an interview like we had you on. And then Sunday would be the end of the week recap where we would recap all of the Reds throughout the week. And then we would have like a minor league segment. Well, halfway through the year, it turned into like an hour-long show of just minor league stuff.
Just minor league stuff, yeah.
So we're like in the off season, we're like, hey, what if we just did a minor league show and see where that goes? And then, a lot of our content, we cover the Reds, but like a lot of our content is Reds prospects, just because, in my opinion, we've been sold on the future for so long. You got to start seeing who is the future. So that's kind of where that came from. And then writing on Reds on SI, I did a lot of the minor league like daily recaps, and that kind of sparked my fire for like really enjoying prospects. And Roger can speak on his half too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, our fondness for the minors, the Reds minors, obviously is just grown and grown and grown. We, like Ricky had mentioned, we had like a segment called 3 Up, 3 Down. And I think Ricky made the joke. It ended up being like 12 up, maybe 1 or 2 or 4 down.
Right.
So it was like it just got bigger and bigger because there's a lot of guys in the organization, just like your organization, the Red Sox as well, just like a lot of humanity to cover. But we kind of like also the idea also came from is like Justin Leda, who's Locked On Guardians out there, and he has his own Substack next year in Cleveland. So I kind of was like, okay, if he can like dedicate a whole Substack, and I think he does a podcast as well, to the Guardian system. And I looked out there, there's nothing out there that covers exclusively the Red minors. So we're like, okay, that's a lane that we can go. We feel pretty confident. Ricky is like really deep into the DSL, the Dominican Summer League. And, I've gotten a little bit more into that too. And so it's like, it's a lot of content that we can cover. And a lot of the guys also follow our show, which is kind of cool because we can interact with them directly.
Yeah, that's like so the Red Sox podcast I'm a co-host on, like the guy who hosts it, like he's like very in the weeds with like the minor leagues in terms of building relationships. But for the Red Sox, they have like Sox prospects, like that's all they do. And it's like a very uncommon thing. Like there's not really many people dedicated to just the prospects. So the fact that you guys are about to do that, and I gave you guys like just amounts of praise when I was on your show, just like how you guys do a really good job covering the Reds, like a smaller market team, but you guys are diehards. So if you guys are about to be diehards in the minor leagues, like this is exciting stuff. So really cool that you guys are doing that. Is that a separate show, or is that just a separate episode attached to the existing show that you have?
Yeah, it's the same format, just a different day.
Okay, sweet. So that is exciting. I will be very tuned in a dropping, and I guess we'll start there. I usually end with that of who we're excited to watch or who we're looking forward to. So we're going to start there just because we're talking kind of prospects. Who should fans of just baseball in general be aware of in the system? Rhett Lauder is too easy of an answer. So, and given the news about Hunter Green, we'll dive into that eventually. We could see him, but who in the system is everyone should kind of be aware of on the radar? He could either come up maybe late season this year, or he's just going to ascend through the minors and just be a player that's knocking on the door quicker than we may think.
So, Ricky, you got one? Because I got one.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Edwin Arroyo is my pick to click, if you will. He's a guy that got added to the 40-man in the offseason to protect him from the Rule 5 draft in December or whatever it was. And he seemed like it was a guy that the Reds really, really liked. They got him in the 2022 trade. I believe Luis Castillo, Ricky, if I'm right, that trade.
Yeah.
And he's been injured a little bit. He had like a shoulder injury, I think, in 2024. And 2025 is basically coming back to be fully himself. He's made some comments that he didn't really have much power when he came back in 2025, but now he's starting to really get back into it in terms of like lifting the ball and having that strength again. He's more or less kind of like a guy that possibly could be Ellie's replacement down the line at one point or another at short, but he can also
let's hope not, like, unless you move Ellie to the outfield or something, like do that.
But he can also play second and third, so he's very versatile in that respect. And also, I had really high hopes for him in the World Baseball Classic. Francisco, Lindor famously wasn't able to be insured for his part on the Puerto Rican team. And so we were thinking, Edwin Arroyo, he just got named to the team. He might play a lot. He played 2 games. I know they play in the quarterfinals, but I doubt he'll see much action. But that being said, he's got the shortstop job at AAA.
Gotcha.
No doubt, playing every single day, and really excited to see what he does there. I think Ricky and I talked about this also. He might be the first guy called up out of the Reds minor system to the big leagues.
Barring an injury, like, he should probably be the one to come up. I wonder if I've heard somebody say it. I forget who it was, but they were talking about, like, what if you just put Ellie in the outfield? Just like put him in the outfield. Like, I don't know how I feel about it, but if like this kid is really as good as you're saying he is, you never know. That's exciting. Ricky, who you got? Who's another one?
Yeah, I'll give you 2.
Okay. 2
one
is better than
that
one. I like it.
Is kind of losing some steam, but I still have some faith in is Chase Petty. He's been putting in some work in the offseason. He added a new grip to his changeup. It's like what's it called? A kick grip changeup.
The kick change.
Yeah, so he explained how like he spikes the finger and it just moves like crazy. He really struggled last year, but in 2024, he pitched fairly well, and he ended up being promoted to AAA towards the end of the season, and he looked good. He's still just 22. He's been in the system for 4 years, and he's younger than a lot of the Reds pitchers currently when they made their major league debut. So, like, I'm not off the Chase Petty train yet, but this year is going to be a very important year. I think would he give up 9 earned runs and 2 1/3 innings in his major league debut against the St. Louis Cardinals? Like it wasn't pretty, but he had a bounce back outing, but then he kind of struggled with his command. A lot of his problem is just locating his pitches. But when he's on, man, he's like, I think Jose Trevino, he catches Sonny Gray in the offseason, and he said he looks a lot like Sonny Gray. So if you can get Sonny Gray out of Chase Petty, I think anybody would take that. And then the other one I'm going to give you is someone that I don't think is going to make the major league team this year, but he could knock on the door, is Cam Collier. I'm a massive fan of Cam Collier. I think Roger too. He's just got just a beautiful swing. It's nice, level, hard hit balls like every time. He hit a home run in the Arizona Fall League, like 420 feet, like 110 off the bat. Like, it was insane. And he was probably going to make the AAA team last year had he not had a thumb injury. I think they call it a UCL, I think, in your thumb. He tore that ligament, and it just completely zapped him of his power. And I think similar to Arroyo and Matt McLean, rehabbing, having a full season, having a full off season to really prepare and be healthy. I think he has like what I've coined as like a Sal Stewart type season where he starts in AA, ascends to AAA, and if he can dominate in AAA, he very well could scratch the door at the major league roster in September. But if he's not, like I could put I have a very good feeling that he's fighting for a spot out of camp next spring. That's how I feel about Cam.
Very intriguing. Are these guys like on the top 100, like for any of the Reds prospects, or just really highly ranked just in the system? So I haven't looked at MLB pipeline in that regard. So
at the end of the season last year, I think Cam Collier he was 84 last year, I think. and then he kind of, because of the loss of power and everything, he kind of dipped off.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Petty was at 99 for a little bit at the end of last year, or at some point last year. He was in the top 100 in 2024 for sure, but Cam just fell off at the end of the season.
How far away is a guy like Alfredo? Is it Duno? Like how is this? Okay, how far away is he per se? MLB Pipeline has him in 2028. I don't know if it was you. It might have been you, Ricky, who wrote about it. Just like this guy's like probably the best power hitting prospect that you guys have in the system, and we'll dive into the offense. Probably a guy that solves a lot of problems depending on where he fits. Does he profile as a catcher? Is he more of a DH? Can he play first base? Like what are we looking at with this guy, and how far away is he?
Yeah, so we had talked to Reds pitcher was he Dayton, so high A, Jonathan Harmon, and he caught him in the fall league, and he was impressed by his ability to call a game. Just knowing his pitches, super athletic for how big he is. Like, think of Salvador Perez, but a little bit bigger, and that's Alfredo Duno. Like, he is a massive human being. And when he hits the ball, like Roger saw him in person, he got clips of him hitting. Like, he hits the ball hard. And I think with a lot of catching prospects, you always have that in the back of your mind. Like, does he stick behind the plate? I think, should he slim down a little bit, he probably does stay back there long term. The only way I don't want that is if maybe you have another catcher that can hit a little bit, but is a really good fielding catcher, and then you can move him to first base, and then or DH now that it's in the National League. Like the Reds have a couple other catchers that aren't, as highly touted prospects. They have one in the top 30, but they're not Alfredo Duno, So
right. I
think you could look at the possibility of moving him to DH first base, but I think let him learn. He's very really apt to calling games. So, but yeah, he hits the ball hard.
Yeah, MLB Pipeline has him 38th overall for top 100, which is right behind Sal Stewart, which I imagine Sal Stewart is eventually going to fall off, obviously, because he's rookie of the year eligible. Roger, you have anything on Duno or?
Yeah. I think it's Stewart, Duno, and Rhett Lauderly, the top Pipeline guys. I guess we go a little bit deeper. We could even go down even further with some guys that we got in our system if we want to. But no, Duno is definitely. I think your original question is when we see him. I think 2027. And I think I've dubbed this on our show like the class of 2027. There's a lot of guys in Dayton and Daytona, which is our high A teams, that seem to be the next wave of prospects that should sustain this Reds team. The class of 2023 with Ellie and McLean and Andrew Abbott, and there's probably a couple of CES, Marte. Like those guys is like what's sustaining the team right now and is the core. But this 2027 class is being led, I believe, by Alfredo Duno, who should be in high A Dayton and maybe moving through the system quicker than that, possibly, depending on what they see in him. As far as I've seen, they've been only playing him at catcher and having him DH in like the big league spring training games. I know another catcher we're friendly with, Ryan McChrystal, he's going to be probably with Duno around the same time, that 2027 class. Basically, he catches and also plays first base. And there's a couple of catchers that do that in our organization. I think maybe like the new thing of the future, kind of like how they did with Salvador Perez, kind of played first base a little bit and whatnot. So like that may be a path for him. I haven't seen him taking fielding at first base, to be honest with you. I really think they see him as a catcher. It's really kind of the outside analysts that kind of look at his body type and think that he can't do the thing. But I don't think they realize the athleticism this guy has. Just the motor to run around the bases, like he can move. He's not like a clumsy big guy that just hits the ball hard. He's also built and also athletic enough to be just a really great baseball player, whatever position you put him. So that's ahead of the class. Alfredo Duno, class of 2027, coming to your MLB screens soon.
Yeah, he had 6 stolen bases last year. So
damn.
Pretty good for a catcher.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it's like Josh Naylor, slowest dude in the league, stole 30 bags last year. Don't know how that happened. Like, I don't know how that happened, but it did. Expect the unexpected. So, yeah, if you're not a Reds fan and you're interested in prospects, those are the ones to monitor. Obviously, make sure to check out the show. They'll plug everything at the end. So we're going to talk like a little bit. You guys must have had a really fun year. We can really make the case like the Reds, they made the playoffs. Is it because they took care of business? Is it because the Mets suck? Well, both are true. It's really the reality of it. They make it. How did you guys feel about the overall year? Was it frustrating or like, were you guys happy? Like, I think Terry Francona had something. It's just like the experience matters. And having that playoff experience does matter. How do you guys feel about the year?
Yeah, I mean, it was partly confusing. Like there was a lot of times that like how we got in there. They never really got hot, but they never got cold. They didn't get swept until late August, early September. Yeah. And they never went on a winning streak more than 5 games. So it was a weird thing. And then, they made the decision. They could have traded for Suarez during the trade deadline. They traded for defense, Ke'Bryan Hayes, which, probably made a difference, honestly. People, overlook stats, offensive stats, but like he's, a high WAR player because of his defense.
Yep.
And I think a lot of us were expecting Sal Stewart to kind of take that spot prior to him being traded. And it's like we never got hot, we never got cold, and somehow it came down.
You rode the wave and you got in, man. That's it.
And we got to the last game, and we live streamed the last game, and we were checking in on the Mets and the Marlins game. We have an inside joke that our show's always been like a Marlins show, and it just so happened to come down to the last game of the year was the Marlins win. And it was confusing, but it was exciting because you finally got to see the young guys get that taste, and they're popping champagne in the clubhouse. And Tito, I think he gets a lot of hate in a lot of Reds social media just based off him being an old school type of manager where he doesn't really look at the analytics a whole lot. I'm sure he looks at some, but I think he goes by feel more than a computer, which if you look at his bullpen, he handles a bullpen like no other. And
yeah,
I'm sure you being like a Sox fan, like, from the old days in the early 2000s, like he handled those bullpens very well to get to the World Series. And, when you like the modern game of baseball, when you have all the computers telling you to do something, and you have Santiago Espinal batting in the 2-hole for 3 months, and he's batting like 218. It was rough, but somehow the Tito magic rubbed off and they snuck in.
See, I like what you said there, because you said like he has a feel for it. Like you could have like the Brian Cash where it's like Snell is dominating, you're like, nope, buddy, you're out. And then it's like you lost that game immediately, where it's like you can rely on the analytics, but sometimes you got to feel it. Like if your guy's out there and he's doing it, like I don't know why Reds fans would hate Tito. He's a great manager. He's a great manager, and his personality is great. And I think I got to imagine guys do like playing for him. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Reds are about to build. Roger, how'd you feel about the year?
Well, he talked about the roller coaster and riding the wave, and it was very much like that. And also our infamous GM talked about, I don't know, a couple years back, Ricky, or maybe it was more recent than that the Reds want to eliminate the peaks and the valleys in terms of their performance. And that was always taken like, okay, what does that even mean for one day? And then what I guess what ended up happening, at least in now this new Tito Francona era of the Reds, is that the floor has been raised. That's the biggest takeaway from what I've seen in 2025. The David Bell years, as Ricky could probably talk to you hours and hours about, was full of undisciplined, chaotic, the players kind of running the clubhouse to an extent kind of season. 2024 was emblematic of that. After winning 82 games out of nowhere, I think they were predicted to win like 62 games. The 2023 season was such a surprise that we thought, okay, 2024, we're going to take another step forward. And nope, we ran into more outs, strikeouts, and just ran to the wrong base or through the wrong base from the outfield. It was just undisciplined baseball. So at the very least, the 2026 Reds, what we can say about them is that Tito is going to lead a pretty disciplined group. He's not going to run in the outs unnecessarily. He's not going to, have undisciplined play defensively out there in the outfield or infield or whatnot. So at the very least, they should be a solid ball club. The question becomes, how much offense are they going to have, and how much basically their pitching staff's going to be able to replicate from the 2025 season, where they were pretty stellar, especially the bullpen, especially, some of the starters, like Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green, and Nick Lodolo. That's kind of the question going into 2026.
And I wanted to add,
that's a great place to start too. Once Ricky's done, that's where we're going to start.
Yeah, I wanted to add to what you said about like the feel of the game too. Like there was 3 situations I can point to where Tito did something that we know David Bell wouldn't have. One was the Andrew Abbott start in Cleveland. It was it a 1-0 game. It was in the 9th inning. He gave up a hit, I believe, and he went out there and he talked to him, and then he stayed in the game, got the fly out, got the complete game shutout, first complete game of his career. Later in the year, same situation, Nick Lodolo, I think it was against Washington, complete game shutout, And then Hunter Green, later in the season, down the stretch, playoff atmosphere, you're playing the Cubs, one hitter, you give up a hit in the 9th. I think it was still a close game. I think it was like 2-0, I think.
Yeah.
It was close, and he trusts Hunter Green. Hunter goes out there, gets the next 2 out, throws a 1-hit shutout. I don't think those happen in the David Bell era, and I think for the first time in a long time, we actually had complete games for the pitching staff. And funny enough, they led the league in complete game shutouts. So it's like that was the biggest surprise to me, which is that's what Tito does. He trusts his pitchers. He knows they're going to go out there. And when you show pitchers the confidence to leave them in the game, that makes them feel better about themselves for the next outing, and then the next outing, and then they go into another year, and then they progress. Like, you got to trust your pitchers at some point to get it done. And he does that, and I think he does that better than probably any manager in the last probably 20 years.
It's kind of funny you say that too, because it's like longevity for pitchers now is like not like unheard of, but it's like how rare do you see like a pitcher go that deep? Like I think Blake Snell, what was it with the Giants? He went past like the 7th inning for the first time in his career. I was like, he's been pitching for years. I was like, how is that even possible? But the Reds pitching staff was probably my favorite staff too. And Andrew Abbott famously was a pitcher of the day standout numerous times. Hunter Green, guys, brutal news. Like I remember hearing about the elbow and I was like, okay, that's not great. I was like, and I put it out there to my Red Sox chat. I was like, Hunter Green's probably not going to start opening day. And then it was probably like 2 days later. He's now out till what? Basically the All-Star break. We're talking July. They probably won't rush him back unless he's like 100%. But what a blow. A guy who hasn't pitched more than 100 innings in other than just one season. But when he's out there, he's elite. The swing and miss, the velocity is great. His secondaries are great. Rotation outlook, what are we looking like? Sounds like Andrew Abbott, your opening day starter. And then what are we looking at? Nick Lodolo, number 2. Chase Burns, number 3. Who's the number 4 there? Because there's no Nick Martinez. There's no Zach Littell. I got to imagine it's Rhett Lauder's time. He's going to get it. So what is this rotation outlook? This is a pitching staff that was dynamite last year. They were top 10 ERA in baseball. Roger, you hit the nail on the head. Can they replicate it? Well, they got some pretty big shoes to fill. Can they do it?
Yeah, I'll take this because they actually named the 3 starters for your opening series against your Red Sox. It's Abbott the first game, Lodolo second game, and then Brady Singer I think has the finale on Sunday.
Right, I forgot about Brady Singer.
Yeah, Steady Eddie Brady Singer is going to be
okay.
a big innings eater for us again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can depend on him a lot. He might not blow you away with his stuff. He might not win, more than 14 or 15 games, but he's going to make 30 to 35 starts. And that's kind of what the Reds need, especially with a guy like Hunter Green, who you never know exactly if he's going to have some sort of nagging thing or just something he's working through or what have you, right? I don't know how far back you want to go on the Hunter Green timeline, because this thing, it's been kind of boiling. If there's some sort of issue internally with the organization and Hunter Green, or I guess I don't even know how to put it like on a label. There's been some friction, to say the least, and that goes back to June, July of last year, where he had like a hip or some sort of abductor issue. I forget exactly, and they were trying to have him rehab. And he said, no, I don't feel good enough to go to rehab, and refused it. And that kind of rubbed the organization the wrong way. There was some reports at the time, not really that big, from the beat writer for the Reds. And then it blew up once the season kind of ended and it all came out. And they basically were like, why are you not, rehabbing? Why are you just not going out there? It was basically coming down to like Hunter was trying to trust his body. He listened to his body, came back. He eventually, I think, got hurt a little bit again, but then got back and finished the season. The whole thing with this elbow, though, is a whole nother ball of wax, because I guess it was hurting him down the stretch. He consulted with a doctor once the season was done, losing to the Dodgers in that wild card, and got an injection. But then I guess, didn't really think much of it. Wasn't bothering him that too much. And then comes into spring training, feels pretty decent, but then goes out there and it starts bothering him again. And now we're here. In March in 2026, and he's out with surgery, and I don't know how to land this plane, but it's kind of a mess. And we were talking to one of our good friends, Clay Snowden, and I think the perspective of Reds fans probably should be is that we can't really expect 180 innings at all ever from Hunter Green. It's got to be maybe 120 is maybe his upper limit. And just kind of just quality starts in those 120 innings. It's kind of frustrating, because he's the ace, the guy you wish was out there every single time. But I don't know if it's just his body's failing him. I don't know if it's that he doesn't trust the medical team at the Reds and whatnot. There's a lot of unanswered questions with this one.
So the trade rumors probably were legit. I don't like it. Like, it didn't come from just anywhere. Like, I understand it was like, obviously you could put two and two together. Like, okay, the Reds have a surplus of pitching. They need a bat, make a match. But like, this didn't really come out of nowhere. It was kind of sounds like there's some internal friction. It's like someone leaked it. And it's like, well, he might be available now. It's like, because his only like big year was 2024, where he pitched 150 innings. Seeing him reach 200 innings is going to be tough.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
It's a big blow. So who is the biggest X factor for this pitching staff then? Like, Andrew Abbott's coming off a career year, highest workload of his career. Can Brady Singer do it again? He's at least proven himself to this point in his career. He's in a walk year, isn't he?
Yeah, his last year of control.
And then Lodolo's at least just steady Eddie. I mean, is this the Chase Burns breakout year? Is this is he going to be like the Bubba Chandler of the Reds?
I think the X factor is going to be Rhett Lauder.
Okay.
And when he debuted in 2024, he had a 1.17 ERA. Kind of struggled with his command a little bit. I know he's been known to have really good command, especially in college and throughout the minor leagues. He had I think it was a forearm strain to start spring training last year. He did a rehab start, and then he hurt his oblique, and then he missed, he only made 5 starts, and they were all rehab starts last year. Pitched in the fall league a little bit, was okay, didn't look bad. But I think with him, if he can get back to being healthy, he's got the pitches, he's got a little bit more experience. And we're really big on our pitching coach, Derek Johnson. Like, I think he's one of the better pitching coaches in baseball. And I think just being with him and Burns have such a good chemistry that I think that they can kind of feed off each other. And I like how if the 5 rotation without Green is Abbott, Lodolo, Singer, Burns, Lauder, like they all complement each other in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
You got, I don't want to call him finesse, but I see a lot of Cole Hamels in Andrew Abbott, just
That's
with a little bit more velocity. And then you got Nick Lodolo, who's kind of like a left-handed Hunter Green in a way, just with the electric fastball, good slider.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Brady Singer, who's just like your workhorse. But then you got Chase Burns, who, has very similar stuff. Take away the splinker, but very similar stuff to Paul Skeens. And I think there not as much hype. Obviously, he wasn't the number 1 overall pick, but he was number 2 overall. He debuted against the Yankees, was electric. What did he strike out the first 5 batters he saw? And
the Yankees were like the Yankees, they strike out a shit ton. That's just what like, honestly, like they had the most strikeouts in baseball. It was nuts. Yeah, his debut against the Yankees, he had 8 strikeouts total in 5 innings.
Yeah, so I think if it's going to come down to Burns, Lauder, and Brandon Williamson. Brandon Williamson had Tommy John surgery at the end of 2024, missed all of last year. He's added some velocity in the offseason, so he's fully healthy, but I think he probably is a good candidate to start in AAA just to get some starts under his belt. And, you could make the same case for Lauder just because he missed a lot of time last year, but I think just his stuff, he's looked really good in the spring. He had a rough outing the last time he pitched, but he really bounced back. Jeff Brantley, the Reds radio guy, said, if you look at his outing, you go, he got really roughed up, but he got the last 5 guys out without allowing anything. So he looked really good once he got comfortable, and it's going to happen at spring training. You're working on everything. So I think, to me, I'm a big fan of Rhett Lauder. I think he's going to be the X factor for them.
Yeah, I'm excited about this rotation, at least for, what it could be, what the potential it has. It should be a really, really fun year. It's just a bummer that you lose Hunter Green because there's a lot of excitement, at least around this Reds team. Like they made the playoffs. They did make moves. We're going to get into these moves. And we'll start with the bullpen real quick. We don't have to dive too much because relievers is a volatile position. I mean, you just can have a great year one year. Like Chapman, great command, and he could just walk everybody this year. We don't know. But you bring back Emilio Pagan, who had a career year. You bring in Caleb Ferguson, who I think is a pretty underrated reliever. He was really nice with Seattle. Had a decent tenure with the Pirates. You guys feel good about the bullpen at the very least? I like it. Overall, I was really happy to see Pagan come back.
Yeah, for sure. It was kind of weird. The offseason started off with a bang, getting Pagan, I think, December 3rd, like a couple days after I think free agency officially started or whatnot. So it was kind of awesome to do that. And it was kind of weird also at the same time because we also knew that Kyle Schwarber was out there. But like I said, our infamous GM, president of baseball operations, was like, well, we got to work on improving our depth and our bullpen. And we're like, what? Kyle Schwarber is out there. What are you talking about?
I'm like, your offense is not good. I was like, you need a bat. But
it proves out that actually he was pretty correct in terms of this bullpen kind of did need a little bit of retooling. There's a stat that they led all of Major League Baseball in giving guys 0 days rest. So they were throwing out guys like Scott Barlow, like Tony Santillan, like Emilio Pagan on no days rest, just going out there consecutively.
And it's 80 games.
Yeah. These guys were just being used and leaned on in a lot of different ways. So it is nice to get Pagan back. We're hopefully, again, that replicating thing that we talked about with the starting pitching, hopefully that can happen again. If not, Tony Santillan seems to be kind of the heir apparent to the closer role there. If Pagan should lose his way or maybe need a little bit more rest than he got last year, basically. And also Pagan basically recruited Pierce Johnson over to the Reds because they're close buddies, and they signed him, I believe, out of free agency for a big amount of money, at least for Reds, $6.5 million or something like that. So that hopefully will be kind of the Scott Barlow replacement naturally, hopefully,
Mhm.
pitching hopefully about 80 games, because I think that's probably how much Tito is going to lean on these guys again. But yeah, there's also the nice additions in Caleb Ferguson, Brock Burke, two lefties there. Unfortunately, Ferguson's injured, and now we're going to have to possibly lean on Sam Moll, who's been kind of up and down over the years. It's going to be interesting. I will say this, for the 2025 Reds, the best part, or at least what Ricky and I kind of came to the conclusion of, the best part of Tito's management style is that he knows how to manage his bullpen. And he pulled out all the tricks last year to make sure that there were not games that blew up at the end. There were guys that possibly you didn't know were going to turn out to be great pitchers, like Connor Phillips turned into a starter, but then moved into the bullpen. Same thing with Graham Ashcraft, did the same thing, and they've been effective. So, like, that's the one thing that Tito's really brought to this ball club is making sure that the relief pitchers are on point.
Yeah, random story. My father-in-law is friends with Emilio Pagan's father-in-law. So it's really, it was the most random thing ever. And when he signed, he was at my house and I was like, hey man, I just want to let you know, Emilio signed with the Reds. Like, he's not going anywhere. It's just funny. He called his father. He's like, hey man, I heard he's staying. I was like, are you serious? I was like, that is the most random thing. Emilio lives, like, obviously he lives in Cincinnati, but his like house in North Carolina is an hour from my house.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. I was like, that's small world. I was like, be cool to meet him. I was like, had him in fantasy last year. He was a great closer.
Yeah.
So that's my random story. Ricky, do you have anything on the bullpen, or do you want to go ahead and shift to the fun part, the offense?
I'll talk about the bullpen a little bit. It was funny. Roger highlighted the Kyle Schwarber thing. We were told going into the offseason we had $20 million for budget, I think it was, and then Pagan signs for $20 million, and then they signed Johnson to 6.5 or whatever it was, and you're like, oh, we're not going to add any offense. This is what it's going to come down to. Luckily, the Eugenio Suarez thing worked out, and then with the Caleb Ferguson injury, I think there's some people that think that with Sam Moll, he doesn't have any options, so he's probably going to get DFA'd or traded, whatever it may be. I think he's a candidate to bounce back. I was going through his numbers. I got a piece coming out on him tomorrow. He had a 6.38 ERA with the major league team. And with AAA, he had a 5 even ERA. But in AAA, he got hit hard.
Does his FIP at least even it out? Is the FIP any different? Or is it he's pitching this is what it is?
It's just what it was last year. He was just walking a bunch of guys and not locating his pitches. But I went back when he got acquired by the Reds on the 2023 trade deadline with Oakland. He had a 4.45 ERA in 45 games with Oakland. Had a 239 batting average against him. When he got brought into Cincinnati, he had an 0.97 WHIP, a 151 batting average against him, and he had an 0.73 ERA in 24 2/3 innings. And then in 2024, he had a 3.35 ERA with a 2.01 batting average against him with the 1.09 WHIP. So that's two pretty decent years because, as you know, as a reliever, if you have a bad outing, it can ruin your entire year.
Oh yeah, you have one bad outing. I mean, your ERA is shot.
Yeah, and he really struggled in. I don't think was it opening day, Roger, or was it the opening series against San Francisco? But he gave up 3 runs in a third of an inning, and he wasn't locating. I think he threw a passed ball for the first time in his Reds career. He threw a passed ball in the same at bat, or it was some weird stat like that. He'd never done that with the Reds, and he just really struggled last year. And he is getting older. He's a smaller guy too. He's 5'9", and I don't know. He's either going to bounce back or he's going to be the roster move when Ferguson gets activated, in my opinion. But I feel pretty good about the bullpen. There's a pretty good battle going on for the final spot. There's Luis May, who's a flamethrower. I think he just got optioned down though. And then you got Zach Maxwell, flamethrower. The Big Sugar's his nickname. He lives up to it. And then you got Connor Phillips, who he was the player to be named later in the Suarez Winker trade to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
He originally was a starter, had a really good start in 2024 or 2023, and then he infamously kind of blew the season for him against St. Louis, and then transitioned into a reliever role after going from AAA all the way down to Arizona in the complex league, just to kind of like find his mechanics again. And he had a really good stretch last year where he had, I think it was like a 10-inning scoreless streak, and he looked really good. He's going to be one that's going to be flamethrower, throws in a high 90s, triple digits, sweeper, cutter. Like he's really good. He's going to be one to look out for too. But yeah, I feel pretty confident about the bullpen. I think it's going to be similar to last year, but I think they got a little bit better maybe.
Pitching seems like it's going to almost be the bread and butter, but I do think this team does have some offensive improvements. Brian Hayes, I mean, he's just a league average bat, but he's an elite defensive pillar at the hot corner, and that was why that trade made a lot of sense. I was like, you have a legitimate third baseman that can play defense. You got Eugenio Suarez. He doesn't have to play defense. Just hit the ball, bro.
No.
What does that do for your offense, other than the obvious where he's just going to hit a lot of home runs? I mean, he's a lock for at least 20 to 30. But other than that, what does it mean for the lineup? What does it mean for Elly De La Cruz? Because I feel like, obviously, if you're an opposing pitcher, it's like, all right, we could I guess, walk Elly if we have to. Like, who's behind him? I mean, what does that mean for Elly De La Cruz having Eugenio Suarez in this lineup?
Yeah, it's massive. He finally has protection. He's never had anybody behind him that's been like a legitimate power threat. A lot of people want him to hit leadoff or hit second. I kind of agree with hitting second more than leadoff, but if you can have somebody behind you hitting potentially 49 home runs, like he did last year.
Yeah.
And he's done it twice. Interesting stat I found. There's only 3 active players that have had 49 home runs or more, or 49 or more home runs in multiple seasons. That's Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Eugenio Suarez. And there's only 4 third basemen, I think, in the history since 1965 to have multiple 45 home run seasons, and he's one of them also. So having protection for Elly the sky's the limit for Elly already. Like he's got face of the sport potential. And I think adding a power bat behind him and potentially a good hitter ahead of him, if they can put it together, we're really kind of hoping Matt McClain can become that guy like he was in 2023. And we're looking at potential MVP for Elly if that happens. And which sounds like a stretch when you play in the same league as Shohei Ohtani, but I mean, if you could hit 35 home runs and steal 70 bases and lead your team to the playoffs, like you have a legitimate shot to win the award. And it's exciting because even with Spencer Steer, I think, what do you have? 21 home runs, 22 home runs, that helps him out too. So it helps everybody. And for a team that had no power to finally have somebody that has power, it's been really fun to see.
Yeah, Steer got you 21. He's had 20-plus home runs each of the last 3 seasons. Eugenio Suarez was one of 3 players last year to have a 4-home-run game. I did watch the Eugenio one. I did stay up late for that one, and I tried not to wake my family when it happened. But I was like, holy crap, I can't believe he just did that. But yeah, I'm excited for Gino. It's a good hitter ballpark. He hit well here. It just makes sense. And you know what? Elly wasn't even healthy in the second half. Like he wasn't healthy. He wasn't right. And he was just trying to get through it. A healthy Elly, a Gino. Speak about Matt McClain. He's having a very great spring. Do you guys put a lot into that? Like, how do you guys view spring training? Like, when I look at pitchers, I don't look at just the basic stat line. Like, I want to see your velocity. I want to see the mechanics. I want to see, are you missing bats? Like, what's it looking like? I think for a hitter, I guess you can kind of put some stock into the slash line. Like, he's hitting and he's hitting well. It's for average, it's for power. Does it translate? Is he like the catalyst of this offense, the X factor? Like, how much more of a boost is it if he's hitting?
Yeah,
I got some really quick, Roger, and then you can have the floor. So like two things that I look at is like two examples, right? Matt McClain, his issue was just the ball finding the field, and then his opposite field power. And two things that he's shown in spring is the ball finding the field and opposite field power. And like, and then like the two things that I really look for is how you look in an at bat as a hitter. Like, if you're really working on trying to improve your plate discipline, are you doing that in spring training? You know, if your batting average sucks, but you're getting on base, like or you're at least, having extended at bats. Like, I could take that. Like, one player we were talking about mostly with that was Christian Encarnacion Strand. Ton of power. I mean, you've seen it. He played the Red Sox, hit a grand slam last year. I think it went out of the stadium center field. Like, it was crushed. But in that same at bat, he swung at a ball at his eyes. And one thing with him is just not being able to not chase. And he's we were watching the game live on the stream, and we were like, hey, let's look at CES. Let's see what he's doing. And then, I think it was 3 pitches, 3 swings, all balls. I'm like, yeah, not good. And then 2 days later, he's opting back down to AAA.
Fun.
Yeah, Fun. It might have been even quicker than a few days. I think it might have been the next day, Rick. Anyway, to get back to your question about talking about spring training stats, the biggest thing for pitchers is having them go through whatever game plans they're going through. If they get hit hard, get it. There may be minor leaguers that are in the field for them that basically can't cover the field as bad. And then the biggest thing I think for pitchers is just coming out of spring training healthy. Because obviously, like we know already from the Hunter Green experiences, he's not available. He can't pitch well. If at least, like if Abbott comes out of spring training with a 45 ERA, he's still going to be our opening day starter. And also the elements are going to be totally different in Cincinnati than they are in Arizona. The game of the week that was on ESPN, Dodgers Reds, that game, my goodness, it was blowing out so hard that even Santiago Espinal is looking like prime Barry Bonds, hitting 2 home runs off the Reds. So, like, I think it's really kind of bloated on the hitter side. It's very much what Ricky's saying. It's the approach. If Matt McClain is not missing balls off the plate that are falling away, that he's been known to chase, and he's got the right approach where he's able to take it the opposite way with his power, with his ability to make contact through his swing, like that's kind of the big thing. It's like process over results. Because the thing about Matt McClain, like Ricky was kind of alluding to as well, like he was like just making all these loud outs, like guys that are like, if it would have been anybody else, it probably would have found the field and he would have had like a 300, batting average or whatnot. So he was very unlucky last year, and he was also coming off that injury. So there was also a lot of little things that could have contributed to a poor 2025. He should be the number 2 hitter out of spring training. I think we can pencil him in like TJ Friedel, then Matt McClain, then Ellie De La Cruz as our 1, 2, 3. I believe we can safely say that now. Obviously, injuries and things can happen between now and then, but I want to say those should be your first 3 batters in the lineup almost every single day.
That's a very nice top 3, and then obviously I'm assuming Gino is going to be number 4. I don't know how accurate it would be, but number 5 should probably be Sal Stewart. I love Sal Stewart. I am so excited. I got really giddy whenever you guys got giddy, whenever he got called up. And I was like, I can't wait for this debut. Dude, he was everything as advertised. Like, he was their best hitter in September. So now you have 2 power bats. Like you needed one power bat. You're hoping it's Sal Stewart. You got Gino, but Sal Stewart's the other power bat. 54.1% hard hit rate. That guy can hit. I think he's going to hit well. He's going to play first base. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Sal Stewart, man. I think he elevates this offense, though. I do. I think it's an offense that it's mean. And I think you guys got a really, really shitty draw just getting the Dodgers. But it's like, you got to think too. It's like, okay, like you saw how Philly pitched. It's like, if you got them, it's like, all right, the offense is just a step back of like that tier of pitching, facing that tier of pitching. I think they're going to surprise people. I think the offense is going to surprise people. The outfield, what is the outfield outlook? I looked at the depth chart and it looks not ugly, but I'm like, it's interesting. Like JJ Bleday is interesting. What do you make of Marte? It's interesting. It's a very interesting outfield. Is it going to be a productive outfield?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I've seen some kind of rumblings on social media that it looks like Marte, Friedel, and Benson are your locks to make the team, and then it's going to come down to Bleday, Rhys Hines, Dane Myers to be your three fighting for the final two spots.
Yeah,
Bleday's had a really good spring. He's hitting the ball hard. He's playing very well. I think the question with him is where does he play in the outfield? And then Dane Myers has had some of the hardest hit balls of his career this spring, which luckily for the Reds, like every single one of those players has minor league options. So you're not risking anything with who you move.
Right.
The strongest case for me is Rhys Hines, because I feel like last year he didn't really get a shot, and he's kind of a reverse split player. He hits righties really well and doesn't hit lefties, which is kind of a theme with this team. You've got Noelvi Marte, who hits righties better than lefties. You've got TJ Friedel, who kind of does both, but then you've got JJ Bleday, who hits lefties better than righties. So you could have some weird interchangeable lineups if you rock that boat. And I think Dane Myers has done pretty well against righties. I don't have the numbers pulled up in front of me, but I think
he kills lefties for sure.
Yes, he does. I see a Stuart Fairchild type player in Dane Myers if he can, like Stuart Fairchild of 2024. Like if he could, come in when you need him, defensive replacement, steal some bases. Like he's got some speed. I really like the outfield. I think the wild card for me is Noelvi Marte. Does he hit? He won the home run derby, the celebrity home run derby they had down in Miami with I think it was
Vladdy
who
Jr.
was it? It was like Ronald Acuna Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like a bunch. It was a Latin home run derby.
I think I remember that. Yeah,
they use metal bats, but still, it was he's got untapped power. He's very line drive oriented, but that kind of plays in Great American. He hits the ball hard to all fields, and if he could hit a career high this year, if he could hit the 20 home run mark or more, I think I think he cements himself as like the right fielder for the team permanently until whatever may be. And then Will Benson, same thing with him last year. Him and Marte both, they started the year out in AAA. Benson, he's kind of like a flash into play. I don't want to say flash into pan, but he's just, he gets so hot, but then he gets so cold. But like he got so hot, he torched his former team, the Cleveland Guardians, last year. I think he's the first player I've ever seen win Player of the Week and then get optioned.
Yep.
Like that's the kind of year that he had.
God,
yeah.
It's awful.
The outfield, I would say, is in a much healthier state than it has been in recent years. I always make this joke. In 2023, they were trying to figure out the 26th man, and it came down to like just basically 4A players. Like Bubba Thompson ended up making the team, and I don't know if you know about Bubba Thompson, but now he went back to college to play football. So that's kind of like that was what the Reds were working with in the last couple of years. They have, I think, obviously barring injury, a really healthy 26-man roster going into opening day. And I'm kind of a little bit opposite of Ricky. I think they option Hines and Benson again down. I don't think they like their strikeout rates, especially Tito, who's like a guy that would rather, have a Gavin Lux who can move the runner over and not strike out as much and make contact, as opposed to Benson and Hines who hit the ball 500 feet. So like it's kind of like, I think it may come down to, they like Dane Myers as like TJ Friedel's backup at center field because he's got great defense and kills lefties. I think they like JJ Bidet, his leadership and also his like veteran presence in the clubhouse to kind of maybe help like a Noelve Marte in right field. They have Spencer Steer, who they seem to never want to option him down. So that's why I don't think he'll be in any sort of thing, but he's been solid and consistent and is willing to play anywhere for them. So that's kind of a thing. He may be the opening day left fielder. He may be the opening day first baseman. He may be the opening day second baseman. Who knows where Spencer Steer is going to play, but he's got a lot of versatility where I think it makes it hard for him to be not on the roster. And then who else am I missing? Basically, TJ Friedel is just consistent TJ Friedel who just drag bunts like every other game and, gets on base any way he can. And he's been going to probably play a lot more left field this year. They don't like his metrics defensively in center. So they're really trying to figure out they're putting Benson. They're even putting Will Benson in center field at times to see if he can play that position. Because TJ's getting up there. I think he's 30, 31 this year or something like that. Not necessarily as fast as he used to be, but he's definitely a consistent leader and definitely the leadoff guy that you want on this team.
It's so funny you mentioned like they don't like the strikeouts and just like hitting the ball, but I'm like, that's Eugenio Suarez from last year. Like he hit 49 home runs and struck out like over 30%. It was absolutely nuts. But so now to wrap things up, where do you guys see your team finishing? Division's a little loaded. Milwaukee's Milwaukee. They'll just always be Milwaukee. There's no they could do nothing. They can do something. They're just Milwaukee. The Cubs loaded up. The Pirates are going to surprise people. I forget whose Discord it is, but I forget what fan it is in there. Roger, I don't know if it's a Cubs fan or a Pirates fan, but they just keep talking about winning the division. I'm like, brother, the Brewers have won the division like for the last like 5 years. Just so we're not talking about the Cardinals because they're not going to be very good. But where do you guys think you guys, finish out your year?
Yeah, I think the goal is to hit 90 wins. I think.
Right.
I think they have the pitching staff, the bullpen, and the offense finally to do that. Realistically, I think you can get between 88 and 94 if everything goes the way you hope it goes. I just feel like Tito knows it's going to be. People forget that Tito had a whole year off before last year, so it was a learning curve for him too, in a way.
Sure.
A lot of the players that are on the team weren't even on the major league roster when he retired, so he's figuring out who he had. Now he's got a year under his belt with these players. Really confident of all these players, and I think that I think if they can hit 90, I think it's a really good year. And I'm not as high on the Brewers this year as I have been. Obviously, they have some voodoo devil magic that they have.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. They can trade away their best player and go out and improve, which is unheard of. Any other team does that. It's not happening.
Nope.
The Cubs.
Nope.
I don't think that Bregman is an upgrade over Tucker. So I'm not as high on that, but they are Chicago. They have a good core. PCA is just a really good talent. And their pitching staff's pretty good. So you can never roll out Chicago. And then I'll say this about Pittsburgh. Like they put in a ton of effort this offseason.
Yeah.
And we famously, I think we've had some Twitter battles. I don't know what it is about Pirates Twitter that just gets super loud. But like I posted a Key Brian Hayes highlight and it got like 300,000 views in like a couple hours. And I don't hit those ever, And I think, they got Ryan O'Hearn. They got Was it Soler?
Marcelo Zuna.
Yeah.
They got Brandon Lau.
Yeah, they loaded up, and when you have a rotation headlined by Paul Skeens, is it Jones?
They got so Jared Jones is hurt. But they have Bubba Chandler, they got Braxton Ashcraft, they got Mitch Keller. I got no idea who's their fifth starter. I almost don't really care because the first four are really good.
Yeah, I mean, like you could see two teams from the Central easily making the playoffs with, if let's just say the Brewers go out and they do what they did last year and they go get 96 wins, and then the Cubs win 88 and the Reds win 87, the Pirates could win 86. Like it could be one of those kind of seasons. It's going to be a really tough year to where first and fourth place can come down between 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, the NL is going to be stout, and that's just putting it mildly. It's going to be a very stout league. Roger, where do you have the Reds finishing?
Yeah, I'm very on the same wavelength as Ricky for the most part, but 90 wins is kind of like, I don't know, a must, but if they're going to be competitive in this division, they're going to be competitive in the wild card because, like, the Brewers, obviously do their thing. The Cubs got better. The Pirates got better. The Mets got better. The Braves are going to be back again. Like, they can't think that they can win 84 or 83 games and be like in it. Obviously, that'd be nice if they're closer to 90, but like, hopefully it's, like Ricky says, in the 88 to 94 range. That'd be fantastic. A lot of things happen. Like we talked about earlier in the show, it's like there's a lot of ups and downs. And I think the one thing that we can expect from Tito's ball club is that it's going to be steady, consistent, discipline, and hopefully that means that translates to wins as well. But baseball is baseball. A lot of crazy things can happen in a 162 game season. I really think it might be kind of weird to say this, but like the pitching staff last year kind of helped us stay competitive, even though our offense was horrible for long stretches. It may be kind of the opposite this year. The pitching staff may take a little bit of a step back with the loss of Hunter Green, with trying to replicate the results of last year. And the offense, hopefully, is going to be the one that keeps us competitive with Geno bombs and, Marte and Sal Stu and Ellie going off, hopefully at a consistent rate that, hopefully we'll win ball games. But I think that may be the story of the 2026 Reds.
Yeah, it's like regression to the mean, but not like a hard regression to where it's like, wow, this pitching staff is just a problem. We can't trot anybody out there. I have the Reds finishing in third place. I gotta see it. Yeah. The Brewers, it's like they're the Guardians. The Guardians scored like the third fewest runs, but they won the division. It just makes no sense. Right. The Brewers are that way. The Cubs, I think there's just no holes on that team. How it works out. But I have the Reds finishing third. I'm excited for the offense. There's a lot of upside. The rotation's absolutely stout, but I think you guys are on something. Like 83 wins, I don't think is going to make like the playoffs. Like it's got to be up there because the Mets aren't going to – the Mets shouldn't be as bad as they were. And then you never know what San Diego is going to do, what the Giants are going to do, if the Tony Vitello Giants pan out. But I'm excited. I think the Reds are going to have a really, really good year. The floor is yours. You guys let everybody where you guys are, where they can follow you, where they can listen to your show, plug your socials, and then we'll, wrap things up. But yeah, the floor is your guys.
Yeah, you can find us on YouTube at Red Hot Reds Podcast. We're on all the social medias. We live stream on YouTube, X. We're on Twitch. Working on TikTok. We go live on Instagram. Instagram's kind of our more short form, share stories of players, stuff on our stories and stuff. You can find me on X at It's Ricky Logan. You can find me on Reds on SI, where I write about Reds minor leagues and some Reds major league stuff on there too. I don't want to leave that out. And then, Roger runs the main X account basically.
Yeah, I hide behind a little shadow.
The little key.
He's the little egg.
Hopefully not that bad. But anyway, no, we're also a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. So check that out as well. The day after the show, we usually have that up there if you're into listening to podcasts and whatnot. I want to say like Spotify's got like video podcasts, and I think Apple's starting to go to video podcasts soon. So check that out soon for that. But yeah, we really appreciate you, Tommy, for coming on and being a part of our show with that. Hopefully we'll get you on before opening day as well, since it's going to be Reds versus Red Sox. Might have a little show previewing that series and whatnot. Yep. But yeah, thank you again for having us.
Are you absolutely on Substack or no?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I will tag you obviously if I'm on Substack, because a lot of this is Substack audio. I don't really do anything Twitter related. I just put it on the Substack, but I'll make sure to put it on Twitter too. Tag the account, tag you both. This was fun. I enjoyed this. I appreciate you guys giving me just some of your time, on a Thursday night. So I appreciate it again. We'll definitely obviously do this again. We'll do some kind of Red special throughout the year, and we'll just sit here and talk about the good and hopefully not the bad. So without further ado, as I always say,